All right, so John, before we let you go, does the U.S. economy need an aggressive campaign of interest rate cuts to sustain the economic expansion?
We do not believe so. Our thoughts would be 25 basis point cut tomorrow by the Fed would make all the sense in the world with conditions the way they are around the globe, the tensions that exist, and the trade war is still ongoing. But we think it doles out the cuts as needed, and all that will likely change with any kind of an agreement with China.
All right, John Stoltzfus at Oppenheimer, thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Dominic.
As we track the fallout from the attacks in Saudi Arabia over the weekend, U.S. energy producers continue to sound off. Our Brian Sullivan caught up with the CEO of Cheniere Energy, one of the top liquefied natural gas producers in the world, Jack Fusco.
You've got some exciting news. Before we get to that news, I want to ask you, in the follow-up to the attacks in Saudi Arabia, we saw these huge moves in oil and gas stocks on Monday. Does this highlight the relative safe and security of U.S. oil and gas assets?
Well, absolutely. And, first, it's a very unfortunate event. What happened in Saudi Arabia, it really highlights the fact that there's a lot of external forces that drive the price of energy in the world. And it does highlight the fact that the U.S. is a very safe and secure area and a producer of both oil and gas. And it really gives us all a time to pause and reflect and make sure that we feel that our security at our facilities are up to speed.
Do you hope that in some ways, as unfortunate as that was, it does reinvigorate investor attention on oil and gas? Investors have really abandoned the industry over the last few years.
Well, I hope so, because, I feel like I should have been a doctor. I mean, this has been extremely difficult to be in the energy sector. And as you know, Brian, it's very cyclical. This too shall pass. But I do hope that it focuses on just the total value creation for a long-term investor in this space.
Okay, the news that you had after the market closed on Monday, big news, a deal with EOG. What does that mean for the company? What does it mean for the balance sheet?
Well, first, I'm extremely pleased and happy with my team. These integrated producer marketing transactions are very complicated. So it takes our gas procurement folks, our originators, our shipping, and our marketing people to really work together to find solutions for customers. And in this case, it's EOG Resources, a very large, U.S. natural gas and oil producer here, especially in the Permian.
The last time we met was on your campus in Corpus Christi, and the trade war sort of was just beginning. I'm not sure anybody thought we'd still be here at this point, but has the trade war in any way affected your ability as a company to communicate or negotiate, or your relationship with Asian customers, and particularly Chinese customers?
Well, the good news is our Chinese customers continue to use a lot of natural gas. It may not come directly from Cheniere or U.S. LNG, but their growth rate has been phenomenal. It was close to 30 million tons, or a whole nother Cheniere of incremental growth last year alone. So it continues to be a real focus area for us and all of Asia. In fact, the forecast over the next decade is 70% of all the natural gas growth in the world is going to happen in Asia. And that's why we've positioned ourselves with offices in Singapore, Tokyo, Beijing. And we intend to be active in that market. The trade war has definitely slowed down progress. But we're in it for the long haul. Yeah. We continue to work with them. We've delivered just about 70 tankers to China so far, and we're going to be there when they need it and when they open and when it opens back up.
All right, big interview with Jack Fusco over Cheniere Energy. Thanks, Brian Sullivan, for bringing us those comments here. Coming up on the show, did AT&T create fake DirecTV Now accounts? New allegations from a group of investors, that's coming up. Plus, Taylor Swift just added a new title to her resume. The details when Worldwide Exchange returns right after this.
This one shouldn't take long. Of course, if it had a cover, I might not be bothered. Can't see what's under there. And then they'd have chained the back wheel. It would have taken me much longer, especially if the chain's off the ground. Makes it harder to cut. This one doesn't even have a lock on the front. So, in the time I've been talking to you, I've nicked it.
Over 9,000 scooters and motorbikes were stolen in London last year. Lock your bike, chain the rear wheel, and cover it to make it harder to steal. Lock, chain, cover. The Met Police.
For people who want to feel happier, stronger, fitter, get further, faster, better. For people who want to, but don't always manage to. It doesn't matter how you want to do it, who you want to do it with. It matters that you want to. Virgin Active. We'll find a way for you. Join in September and get 15% off each month on 12-month memberships. Visit virginactive.co.uk. Participating gyms. Terms and conditions apply.
You're in charge of hiring, and Indeed has solutions, like online skills tests, which let a candidate show that they are the right hire. And we give you this toy monkey, who will bang its symbols when the right CV appears on your desktop. Okay, there is no monkey. There is no monkey. But there are online skills tests.
See why more than 250,000 companies in the UK use Indeed for hiring. Visit Indeed.com/try today to try skills tests for free today. Terms and conditions apply.
Dreaming of a new kitchen? At Wix, we take care of everything, from expert design to an installation service you can trust. And there's a great price. Right now, there's up to 50% off kitchen installation. Speak to us today and get your kitchen installed for Christmas. For minimum spend, terms and exclusions, see wix.co.uk.
1 in 2 people believe they should check their work email on holiday. 1 in 3 believe it's okay to eat a colleague's lunch. And 1 in 14 believe it's okay to steal loo roll from work. People believe all sorts of strange things. Some people believe that insurance companies try to avoid paying claims. But last year, Zurich paid 99% of insurance claims made by their UK customers. Zurich, an insurance company you can believe in. To find out more, visit zurich.co.uk/99.
All right, welcome back. We have an IPO alert this morning. Unlike WeWork, Anheuser-Busch InBev is set to list its Asian business in Hong Kong this week after postponing the offering in July. In a new statement, the company says it plans to raise up to $4.8 billion. It will offer 1.3 billion shares at a price range between 27 and 30 Hong Kong dollars a piece. That values the unit at around $45.5 billion to $50.5 billion. The offering includes a so-called upsize option, which means it could sell up to 40% more shares, raising around $6.6 billion. The company will begin taking orders for that IPO starting tomorrow. Well, let's find out what else you will be talking about today. Time for this morning's top trending stories. Rahel Solomon is here with those, and we're going to start on the media side of things.
Let's do that. Quite a mixed bag today. So a lawsuit is alleging that AT&T pressured its employees to create fake accounts for its DirecTV Now streaming television service. So this is said to have happened ahead of its merger with Time Warner. AT&T says it plans on fighting what it calls baseless claims in court.
So this is kind of a curious story, right? I mean,
yeah.
The whole idea that a company of that size would want to allegedly inflate numbers
to
like
make it
that.
look more attractive during these discussions.
During this whole process and everything
I'll
else.
tell you what is attractive.
What is?
This next story, because this is pretty good.
All right.
Larry David fans, you know what I'm talking about. Seinfeld is heading to Netflix. The streaming service acquired the global streaming rights to the sitcom and will offer all 180 episodes of Seinfeld starting in 2021. So Netflix did not report exactly how much it paid for the show, but rights to other popular series like The Office and Friends were bought for upwards of $500 million. And so after those really high-profile departures, Netflix needed a W. This is a win for them.
It's pretty funny because I think as Americans and as media consumers in America, we are nostalgic by nature.
Yes.
So we will continue to watch The Office and Friends and Seinfeld. I'm a Big Bang Theory kind of guy.
Especially Seinfeld.
Yes.
Well, there are questions about what happens to The Big Bang and like other popular shows too. But for now, we rejoice in this amazing news.
I will rejoice, yes.
Yes. The Voice is announcing ahead of its 17th season premiere that Taylor Swift will be joining the cast.
Wow.
Yeah. Swift is going to help mentor contestants and assist them in refining their performances during the show's knockout rounds. This will be her second time appearing on the series. She had a similar role during its 7th season.
I mean, I will say this. I mean, this is not a shameless promotion for our friends over at NBC.
No, not at all.
But Taylor Swift is, I mean, you could say the biggest kind of pop music star out there right now. And to have her do this, is there an expectation that people will flock to The Voice because it is Taylor Swift, T-Swift doing this?
She's very popular, but are we placing her above Beyonce?
I don't know.
Are we doing this at 5:50 this morning?
We could. Although I hear now Beyonce has a beef with other people about some of the Emmys and everything else that happens.
Well, she has a documentary on ABC. But, we could talk about this all day, and I know we have other important stuff to talk about. So that's what's trending.
Rahel Solomon, thank you very much for that. Now to sports and Monday Night Football between the Cleveland Browns and New York Jets. The game featured the return of wide receiver Odell Beckham Jr. to his former home, MetLife Stadium. OBJ did not disappoint, providing the play of the game for the Browns in the third quarter. He catches this pass over the middle and is off to the races. It's 89 yards for the score, the longest touchdown of his career, and he was a Brown when he did it. Get out the radar gun. Beckham was clocked at a top speed of 21 miles per hour. Cleveland wins 23-3 to even their record at 1-1, and the Jets fall to 0-2. And we're not even showing you, folks, the one-handed catch from Odell Beckham Jr. earlier in the game. Well, on deck for the show, did Santa Claus just come to town a little bit early? The nation's retailers getting an early holiday gift this morning. Those details coming up. And then later on this morning, don't miss Blackstone Chairman and CEO Steve Schwartzman. He'll be live on Squawk Box in the 8 a.m. Eastern Time hour. Stay tuned. We'll be right back on Worldwide Exchange.
ServiceNow put our workflows in.
Sunday's NFL Network has you covered from morning to night. It all starts with Game Day Morning, breaking down every matchup before kickoff.
It's going to be a great game.
Then Game Day Live brings you up to the minute scores.
Getting fired up here.
Game Day Highlights catches you up on Sunday's biggest plays with extensive recaps.
What a crazy finish it was.
And Deion Sanders wraps it all up in style on Game Day Prime.
If you ball, you get the call.
NFL Game Day, Sunday at 9 a.m. Eastern, only on NFL Network, and listen on TuneIn.
This one shouldn't take long. Of course, if it had a cover, I might not be bothered. Can't see what's under there. And then they'd have chained the back wheel. It would have taken me much longer, especially if the chain's off the ground. Makes it harder to cut. This one doesn't even have a lock on the front. So, in the time I've been talking to you, I've nicked it.
Over 9,000 scooters and motorbikes were stolen in London last year. Lock your bike, chain the rear wheel, and cover it to make it harder to steal. Lock, chain, cover. The Met Police.
For people who want to feel happier, stronger, fitter, get further, faster, better. For people who want to, but don't always manage to. It doesn't matter how you want to do it, who you want to do it with. It matters that you want to. Virgin Active. We'll find a way for you. Join in September and get 15% off each month on 12-month memberships. Visit virginactive.co.uk. Participating gyms. Terms and conditions apply.
His macro market picture, from global trade to volatility to the opportunities he sees ahead. Squawk Box today.
Should we give it for a spin?
Give it for a spin.
Who binds the cyclist?
How are you, Jay?
It was. I think you'll like this room. Every famous guitar in the world is here.
Oh, my goodness.
Jay Leno's Garage. All new tomorrow, 10 Eastern. CNBC. Get yours.
Welcome back. Time for the executive recap. The headlines you need in 60 seconds. A new report predicts it could be a jolly holiday season for the retailers. Deloitte forecasts sales will increase 4.5% to 5%, topping $1.1 trillion. That would be stronger than last year's holiday shopping season. China says officials will be in Washington for trade talks this week. These will be vice ministerial level discussions ahead of high-level talks set for later on next month. And California Governor Gavin Newsom is calling for stronger enforcement against counterfeit e-cigarettes. His executive order stopped short of an outright ban, but he is calling for action against those who let minors access those products. Well, the Fed will begin a big two-day policy meeting this morning, and that means investors will be counting down until tomorrow's big 2 p.m. Eastern Time decision on interest rates. Joining us now is Jeffrey Kleintop, Chief Global Investment Strategist at Charles Schwab. So, Jeff, if we take a look at the Fed and its role in the overall market and us being 1% away from record highs, is the Fed that catalyst that gets us to top that record from last summer?
I don't think so. I think what we'll hear from Powell is that this is still not part of an extended series of rate cuts, but merely some insurance measures in response to some of the weakening in manufacturing, a few other areas. So I'm not sure the market's going to get the all clear from the Fed that it's looking for. Instead, I think the more important central bank meeting this month was the European Central Bank. We've seen European bank stocks rally pretty powerfully ahead of that news and through that news. You know, the last time we saw a big move from the ECB like this, they continued to rally, could have more to go.
All right, so if the European banks are a good signal, are there other parts of the U.S. banking system that could be kind of validating that particular feel in global markets?
It's hard to see. You know, in the U.S., lower interest rates are going to weigh on bank profitability. In Europe, they've now tiered those lower interest rates to where they're not going to have that negative drag on the banking system. And the QE they're implementing in Europe is a boost to their balance sheet. So insulating their income statement from lower interest rates and yet boosting their balance sheet from QE, that's not happening in the U.S., where it's just lower interest rates, which in fact act as a drag.
There is a justification right now in global markets that the U.S. stock market deserves to be at record highs and deserves to keep trending higher because the economy here is doing better than so many other places around the world. Is that the case, and can we expect that economic strength relativity to continue?
U.S. economic strength is better than it is elsewhere in the world, but that's not really the key to what drives corporate earnings. Remember, the stocks that make up the S&P 500 get their earnings from around the world. They have the same geographic sales distribution as companies headquartered in Europe or Asia. It's not really about the U.S. economy solely. And the big picture tells me that as we look at the larger picture, things are slowing broadly. The U.S. is far more focused from a sector perspective on technology. And if, in fact, this rotation we're starting to see away from growth sectors towards value holds, and in the past, over the last 50 years, we've seen rotations from one style to another around yield curve inversion. So that says to me this could have some legs. That may suggest a rotation away from U.S. dollars.
All right, so I'm an oil consumer. I fill up my tank. I'm a commuter in my car every day. I drive to work. Does that mean that low gasoline prices are better for the overall economy, or is the job growth from higher CapEx spending in the energy patch enough to kind of outweigh that? What's more important?
You know, that's a great question. We just don't know yet. In the U.S., obviously, the energy sector has become much more important in terms of jobs and in terms of S&P 500 earnings, for sure, relative to the overall economy and the impact on the consumer. I think the consumer, being in the position they are right now, strong confidence, good income growth going into the fourth quarter, with oil prices now up basically within the range they've been over the last 1 year, not breaking out to new highs, I think we'll be okay here from a consumer perspective. And the higher oil prices won't be the catalyst that throws us into the next recession.
And the consumer is key. Jeffrey Kleintop at Charles Schwab, thank you very much for those market thoughts. Well, that does it for Worldwide Exchange this morning. Futures indicating a flat start to the day. Squawk Box picks up coverage right now.
Good morning. The Fed preparing to kick off a two-day policy meeting. As the Dow snaps an 8-day winning streak, we'll tell you what to expect from Jay Powell. The fight for content. Netflix snapping up rights to Seinfeld after losing Friends and The Office. Plus, speaking of Seinfeld, Newman, the WeWork CEO, reportedly postponing the IPO, but remains committed to the public offering by the end of this year. It's Tuesday, September 17th, 2019, and Squawk Box begins right now.
And I will wait for you. And I will wait.
Live from New York, where business never sleeps, this is Squawk Box.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Squawk Box here on CNBC. We are live from the NASDAQ market site in Times Square. I'm Becky Quick, along with Joe Kernan and Andrew Ross Sorkin. Let's take a look at the U.S. equity futures at this hour. You'll see that we are under a little bit of pressure. Dow futures down by about 41 points. S&P futures off by 3.5, and then the NASDAQ down by about 14 points. This comes after a down day yesterday, but really muted losses given what was happening with the oil patch and some of the concerns about what's going to be happening in the Middle East at this point. It did end an 8-day winning streak for the Dow, and again, again, this morning, red arrows across the board. But again, these are pretty modest losses when you consider some of the news that we've been going through. Oil prices were up sharply yesterday. WTI and Brent both up by about 14% to 4-month highs. WTI had its best day since December of 2008. Brent had its best day ever, going all the way back to when they started collecting the data back in 1988. You can see this morning, those prices are down, but just slightly. You're still looking at WTI at 61.81 and Brent at 67.85. Let's take a look at what happened overnight in Asia. You're going to see that the Nikkei barely budged. It was up by about 13 points. The Hang Seng down by 1.25%, and then the Shanghai Composite off by 1.75%. This morning, in some of the early trading that's taking place in Europe across the continent, it's a fairly muted picture there too. FTSE slightly higher. The CAC is slightly down. So is the DAX. Stocks are a little weaker in Italy and in Spain as well. Finally, check out Treasury yields. The markets here. You see the 10-year is now yielding 1.833%. The 30-year, 2.3%. Yields a little bit lower than yesterday, but still well above where we've seen in recent months.
Okay, let's talk about the big corporate story of the morning, or corporate story that isn't, perhaps, is maybe the better way to say it. WeWork now delaying its IPO. Surprise, surprise, but says it will still go public by the end of the year. Of course, we will wait to see whether that's going to happen. The company's been preparing for its investor roadshow, which was to take place starting today, as it happens, but made the last-minute decision last night to stand down. This reportedly over concerns that there's not enough stock market investors that actually wanted to participate. Reuters reporting WeWork now won't go public until at least October. That would be at the earliest. And Adam Newman, who you're looking at a picture of there, wants to get through the Jewish holidays before he considers sort of the next steps.
Because that's what's keeping investor
in all of this. Down? I don't believe that has anything to do with the investor interest. Perhaps has to do with the calendar in terms of if you're going to go out and try to do this all over again, when you might begin the process. The company's valuation has been slashed by as much. Depending on who you're listening to, by as much as $37 billion since its first IPO filing. And its biggest investor, SoftBank, has reportedly been pushing to shelve the public offering entirely. The Financial Times says WeWork will hold a company-wide webcast for employees this morning. My understanding of all of this is actually that SoftBank and WeWork had come to some kind of compromise that this was going to be okay. I don't know. By the way, when I say compromise, I don't know if there were additional ratchets. I don't know if I believe there were additional monies that SoftBank was going to buy parts of the IPO.
Well, that's what I was interested in. I mean, if they want to shelve it, but they want it to go ahead, but they don't want to. Do they want to put more of their money into it?
My understanding was they might put some more in. Maybe they get something more for that. I don't know. But the issue still was not that they couldn't get the money from SoftBank, but actually that they still couldn't get enough money from the public investors. And after the Smile Direct Club, Smile Club Direct?
Smile Direct Club,
the Smile Direct Club, which was obviously a disappointment and everything else, I think there was a view that, for better or worse, there is not the appetite out there. And between Sam Zell and how many guests have we had on over the last several weeks who have...
How many guests have we had on over the last several weeks?
Yes.
That would be the... how many guests have panned it? How many have we had on? That would be...
Pretty much, that's where we are. So, will this be like, like the Globe.com? They actually went public. But is this going to be the high water? Is this a high water mark in where we are?
I think it has to go public to be the high water mark, and it's be a very low water mark. I'm trying to just really just human-to-human interaction with you guys today. I'm trying to look in your eyes.
Why? What's your horoscope say?
Because of Brian Grazer, because he's coming on. And it says, well, actually, it's true. My horoscope says don't be cynical today. Even though people are saying the same old crap and making the same mistakes, do not be cynical. But when we have Brian
on... Is that a reference to us?
Maybe.
No, when we have Brian...
Same old crap.
Not everyone, not everyone present. No, but seriously, that's his latest book. Did you read it?
Yeah, I did, and I love it. His points are put down the cell phone, interact, look at people in the eye, communicate, and that's
when you're standing in line.
I know.
It's going to be hard for me. It's going to be hard. It's really going to be hard. You're waiting in a queue, waiting in line somewhere, go to a movie, wherever you happen to be, and you're waiting. Strike up a conversation with a stranger and talk about him and ask a bunch of questions and look interested and lean in, literally lean in and look right in their eyes.
He says he's learned that
from Oprah. If someone did that to me, I would leave.
From Oprah and others.
I know. If someone did that to me standing in line, I would leave. I would say something is wrong with this. And if I do, believe me, I do it, they're going to think this guy is
they are going to think
creepster.
I think
anyway, I look forward to having him on so he can
You know what? He's a Hollywood type. You know what I mean? So, and it's all about
highly
relationships.
successful.
Yes, he is. I'm trying to do it, aren't I?
Insincerely.
Cynically.
Okay, cynically and sincerely. You, by the way, have not had cynical comments yourself at all about WeWork.
I was thinking about how we should, I'm on Fast Money. I share this workspace. I think we have our own little version of WeWork. Of WeWork. Downstairs, the IPO, or the people come in.
A fan.
So I think shared workspace, the gig economy. I mean, we have too much capacity in everything we do, cars, houses.
I don't see you sharing in any of those things.
No, not really. Well, the Airbnb was always a problem. Like, I don't want to sleep in someone's dirty sheets, and I don't want some dirty person sleeping in my sheets, basically.
And your dirty sheets.
To be continued. In the meantime...
You know what dust is, right, Becky?
We've got some other news to tell you about.
Dust is skin.
This morning.
So you're sleeping in people's skin.
Yeah, I know. You wash the sheets.
We'll do that. That's what happens at hotels as well. Anheuser-Busch InBev set to list its Asia business in Hong Kong this week after postponing the offering in July. In a statement, the company says it plans to raise up to $4.8 billion. It's going to offer 1.3 billion shares at a price range between 27 and 30 Hong Kong dollars each. That range values the unit at $45.6 billion to $50.7 billion. The offering also includes a so-called upsize option, which means it could sell up to 40% more shares, raising up to an additional $6 billion. The company will begin taking orders for that tomorrow.
And some new developments, if you haven't heard, on the attack on the two largest oil processing facilities in the world that took place in Saudi Arabia over the weekend. NBC News is reporting that American intelligence indicates that the strikes did indeed originate from Iran. Late yesterday, President Trump said he was in no rush, though, to jump to a military response to the attacks. Maybe a little bit of a softening of some of his comments. Hadley Gamble joins us now from Riyadh with the latest. Hello again, Hadley.
Hey, good morning, guys. So essentially, if anything was really needed to show you just how much legs this story is really going to have in the coming days, it's that President Trump yesterday suggesting that Secretary of State Mike Pompeo could be in Riyadh within days, and King Salman's Council of Ministers has been meeting in a conclave of sorts over the last couple of days in Jeddah. We heard this morning that there will be a press conference around 8 p.m. Jeddah time. It's going to include not only officials from Aramco, but also the new Saudi Energy Minister, His Royal Highness Abdulaziz, Prince Abdulaziz. And the question, of course, is going to be not just the obvious ones about output and how quickly they're going to get this back online, but also we've been hearing a lot of reports about Saudi Aramco contacting many of their customers with warnings that they're not going to be able to fulfill their October commitments. And the questions there surrounding whether or not what type of crude they have in reserve, what kind of crude they would offer as replacement in case they weren't able to get those customers' orders fulfilled in the way they'd originally agreed. So a lot of questions for those guys later today, and we're going to be heading off to Jeddah in just a few minutes from now. But also, in terms of the geopolitical situation, Saudi Arabia's foreign ministry finally releasing some kind of word about what's been going on behind the scenes here in the kingdom. Last night in a statement suggesting that the weapons used in the attacks on Saudi Aramco facilities were in fact Iranian weapons. They verified that, but they did stop short, unlike the president, unlike Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, of blaming this squarely on Tehran. So it's interesting that we're going to see potentially Secretary of State Mike Pompeo here in just a few days from now. And at the same point, the Saudis don't seem ready quite yet to call out Tehran for these attacks. Guys?
All right, Hadley. We'll wait for that, obviously, and nothing major seems like it's in the works at this point from anywhere. But I don't. Anyway, thank you. I'll hopefully check back in with you later this morning.
Energy majors also responding to the attacks and the impact on global production. Here's Chevron CEO Michael Wirth on Closing Bell.
An evolving event, and I will tell you, Saudi Aramco is a very capable company. I have enormous respect for Aramco, and if there's a company that can rebound quickly from something like this, it's Saudi Aramco. So I think, there's still damage assessments being done. There's signs that they may bring some of their production back online fairly soon, And I think that's the real question: is for how long will this supply be off the market? And then, of course, there are other areas where supply can come in from perhaps more quickly than further ramp up in the United States.
Worth also said that the attacks show the risks in the energy sector are real and that the markets had really grown a little bit comfortable with those risks.
All right, coming up, it's Fed Week. We're just a day away from the central bank's decision. What week isn't Fed Week, really? It seems like. Anyway, we'll get a decision on rates. We'll tell you what to expect from Fed Chair Jay Powell. And a reminder, the Delivering Alpha Investor Summit is back for its 9th year in New York. We have a big lineup of CEOs and influential investors, including a one-on-one interview with Vice President Mike Pence. That's on September 19th. You can register for tickets now at deliveringalpha.com. As we head to break, here's a look at the biggest pre-market winners and losers in the Dow. We'll be right back.
This CNBC program is...
Sunday's NFL Network has you covered from morning to night. It all starts with Game Day Morning, breaking down every matchup before kickoff.
It's going to be a great game.
Then Game Day Live brings you up to the minute scores.
Getting fired up here.
Game Day Highlights catches you up on Sunday's biggest plays with extensive recaps.
What a crazy finish it was.
And Deion Sanders wraps it all up in style on Game Day Prime.
If you ball, you get the call.
NFL Game Day, Sunday at 9 a.m. Eastern, only on NFL Network, and listen on TuneIn.
Find and fund my car, from a Mini to a Jaguar.
Feel good car buying from findandfundmycar.com is the place where you can find quality used cars from trusted dealers rated by you, and where you can fund your car with finance to fit your budget. It's feel good car buying all in one place.
Carry on, choose findandfundmycar.com.
Moving from one rental home to another is so expensive.
Last time, we had to pay hundreds to move in, the first month's rent,
and then a big deposit. With Romans, it doesn't have to be like this.
It doesn't.
At Romans, you really can move in from just £36, plus your first month's rent.
And that's it.
Nothing more to add. Move in from just £36, plus your first month's rent. With Romans. No deposit.
No problem.
Romans, your trusted local property experts at romans.co.uk. Conditions and monthly fee apply.
For people who want to feel happier, stronger, fitter, get further, faster, better. For people who want to, but don't always manage to. It doesn't matter how you want to do it, who you want to do it with. It matters that you want to. Virgin Active. We'll find a way for you. Join in September and get 15% off each month on 12-month memberships. Visit virginactive.co.uk. Participating gyms. Terms and conditions apply.
Winter might be on its way, but with Jet2 holidays, you can escape the cold. Discover sun-soaked destinations with 4- and 5-star hotels and 22 kilograms of baggage included. So why wait for summer? Book some winter sun now. Jet2 holidays. Package holidays you can trust. APTRA protected.
The Fed's two-day meeting kicks off today, and we've got the results of the latest Fed survey. Steve Leisman is here. He joins us with more on what he found. Hey, Steve.
Becky, good morning. 43 economists, strategists, and fund managers polled, and they're pretty much right about the next stuff I'm about to show you. 100% see a 25 basis point rate cut. 92% say that next rate cut after one we are supposed to get tomorrow would come in December. Note that's only one more after this one. And then this is interesting, 1.56 is the average fund rate seen for the year end of 2020. So another one dialed in for sometime next year, or a debate about how many, there's one or two. Kind of interesting results on what should the Fed do. 51% say the Fed should cut, and some of those, by the way, say the Fed should cut by 50 basis points. And we'll get to that in a second because the probabilities this morning in the futures market have changed. 44% say the Fed should not do anything. Well, why will the Fed do anything? 25% say it's the trade. Well, 25% of the reason is put on the trade war, another quarter on the weak economy, low inflation. We took a couple of the reasons out, but pressure from the market at 18%, and people do not believe that the market is reacting to pressure from President Trump. Just 8% of the reason for the rate cut. Give me some of the commentary here. Kathy Bastianic, chief U.S. financial market economist at Oxford, says, while the Fed does not want to underwrite the ongoing trade war, it has no choice but to buffer the deleterious impact it has on the economy. In total, we look for 4 cuts in 2019, completely unwinding the 4 rate increases in 2018. Art Hogan, chief market strategist at National Security, says economic data and financial conditions are not exactly screaming for rate cuts here, but someone at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue sure is.
You know, while you were showing those numbers, I was thinking about what we've been hearing from Mike Santoli for the last week or two, is that after the last couple of times we heard from the Fed when they cut rates, you heard the market, you saw the market sell off because it was expecting everything they got and didn't get any surprises that would have made them a little more bullish on things. If you have 100% already expecting a 25% rate cut and 92% expecting a rate cut next time they meet in December, it seems like it could be setting itself up for the same position where people expect that this is going to happen. It's not going to be a surprise. Right. It's not going to push stocks higher if they get these things. But if there's anything in the commentary that makes it seem like we may not get a rate cut in December, it could disappoint.
The old mid-cycle adjustment comment that was made. I don't think, look, that stuff matters sort of on a day-to-day thing. I think what really matters for the economy is the total amount of easing that's in the economy. And if you were, for example, to show a chart of the 10-year, which you've completely forgotten was what in November 2018. We've all forgotten this. It was up near above 3%. Remember that? There is a ton of... No, you don't, because we forgot. We're all like, rates are low, they're always going to be low. Guys in the back, if you could put up that 10-year chart going back to, say, November or September last year, you'll see it was up there, and there's been a lot of easing. It's come through the mortgage market. It's come through the fixed income market. It's come to the corporate bond market. All those different places, there's all this easing in the economy. The Fed has to meet that easing in the economy, but it's already been delivered by the market.
You know what? I was just thinking something, and this is not a cynical take on things, but if you were Jay Powell, you have a choice. I'm either doing what Trump wanted me to do, or I'm acknowledging he was right. And neither one, but you could come back and say, well, you caused it yourself with your trade wars. So, I mean, you can always come up with that, that explanation of what happened.
Why are there even 4 people at the table when you can have the entire conversation by yourself, Joe?
What do you mean?
You just answered your own thing. You're right. That's exactly what I would respond.
Oh, yeah. No, because I know you, and I'm looking over, and I'm just thinking it through. It's like, wow, I might rather admit, I don't know which is worse, admitting that I'm succumbing to the pressure from Trump or saying, oh my God, you were right in the first place. But then immediately I know you'd say, well, when you do it yourself, it's pretty easy to engender a rate cut by slowing the economy down from your ill-conceived trade wars, right?
I think that's probably a good response, and I think that...
all right. We don't need you. We'll see.
Leave it there.
You can stay.
Joe, there's a reason why other presidents have chosen not to talk about the Fed.
But that's a rare thing. They didn't have Twitter, number one, and we've gone back and people have done reports.
What does not having Twitter have to do with it?
We've gone back and known
he has to use it because it's there?
No, we've gone back and seen that many presidents have jawboned over the years.
Joe, come on, Joe.
Not
you want to make a list?
Also,
you give me your list, I'll give you my list, and we'll compare the lists.
But definitely social media allows it to be much more widely disseminated from we're just grousing in private about it.
Wait. If you think a president would have had trouble making public his remarks
Who was the president that threw the Fed chief up against the wall?
Johnson, maybe, or something like that? Yeah.
Okay,
he used to go around and kick everybody. He did. He had boots and he'd kick them in the shins. Hey, Jeffrey, what do you think? Go ahead, wade into this conversation. Jeffrey McDonald is the head of fixed income.
That's a scary name.
Good morning.
We talked about that before. That's scary. That's like
mild-mannered portfolio manager by day.
David Berkowitz.
Homicidal
family killer at night. Yeah, okay.
So what do you think?
I think this is a conversation really about the yield curve, not so much about the absolute level of 10-year rates. And I think when we look at, what the Fed's looking to do, I think the curve inversion spooks them or gives them a concern. So we've been 3-month bills and 10-year notes inverted since last year. 2s and 10s have floated around with this inversion. And when we look at the big drivers, as we know, the back end of the curve is generally global growth, inflation expectations, and the front end is central bank policy. So if you run a chart of 10-year U.S. Treasuries against 10-year bunds, that relationship holds up pretty good. It's pretty solid of what's driving that back end, and we all know what's happening in Europe. So I think European longer-term rates might be driving the back of the curve here, where you've still got divergent monetary policy at the ECB, which is a basket case, and last week threw a whole laundry list of easing policies back into the market. And you've still got the Fed that's really just paused and only done one cut. So I think part of the flattening anyway, and part of the inversion anyway, is the fact that the Fed's going to ease in here, but they're a little bit behind some of the other central banks. So, does the flattening, does the inversion signal we're headed for an imminent recession? I don't think so, but I think the back end probably responding to more global pressures on growth and inflation, and the front end still staying somewhat in tune with what the Federal Reserve is doing.
Would you buy treasuries here?
We are not big buyers of treasuries here. I think we're playing it a little bit from the short side, but I think, barring any kind of real aggressive, inflation or growth scare, which you'd have a hard time selling me on given what the outlook is, I think around 2.25 is probably fair value for U.S. Treasuries. And if you get a cut in September, tomorrow, when we're likely to get it, maybe another one between here and year end, now you can build a yield curve that's around 40, 50% 2s, 10s. And that kind of feels like where we should be. We've got reasonably good trend-ish growth here in the U.S., maybe a little bit slower than trend. Inflation, depending on how you want to look at it, is kind of within or close to that symmetrical band. So, a positively sloped yield curve around 40 to 50 basis points kind of feels right. It's just going to, I think, take us a little while to get there. And then a little bit of news, a little bit of relief on trade, on stimulus, the whole fiscal question. How are we going to find capacity to do that? Any kind of relief on those fronts, and I think you get a more normalized curve between here and year end.
Jeffrey, thanks for coming in today. It's good to see you. And Steve, we'll see you in just a little bit.
And Steve, my response to you. My response to you would be the weakness that was
in the trade war.
The weakness that was manifested in Europe probably wasn't mainly due to the trade wars. That was already.
We asked that. My response to you, Joe, would be.
Yeah, I respond for you to me.
Oh, I don't talk.
No. And you say, here's your response. You've got me there, Joe.
No, you got me there, Joe. Brilliant. No, I will tell you that we asked the question in the Fed survey.
And the trade war is hurting in Europe?
The trade war is increasingly seen as responsible for some of the global economic weakness.
By the way, Brian Grazer, when he says talk to people, he doesn't mean talk for them.
Yes. Really?
Really?
I was looking right in his eyes as I was leaning in as I was doing that.
Yes. I felt like you were communicating with me.
That's what I was trying to do.
You're doing a nice job of that.
Say hi to everybody on your way out and press the flesh. That's the way we're doing this.
I'm always pressing the flesh.
Okay.
I'm running.
Excellent.
You're running.
If you go on like a comedy show, they always say that the guest is the furniture. If you're like a Jon Stewart show.
Yeah.
You are the furniture. You're not supposed to really say anything because it's really about.
That's totally different than what Brian's saying. That's horrible.
But I'm saying what.
He's saying what he's trying to say.
What you're doing. Coming up when we return. If you're thinking about buying the new iPhone 11, don't go anywhere because our own CNBC's Tom Hazelton's been test driving the new models, and he's joining us with his review right after the break.
When you go on Conan's show.
Today's big number, 1.47 billion. That's how many iPhones Apple has sold through 2018, according to data from Statista. Apple stopped releasing iPhone unit sales at the end of last year.
Sunday's NFL Network has you covered from morning to night. It all starts with Game Day Morning, breaking down every matchup before kickoff.
It's going to be a great game.
Then Game Day Live brings you up to the minute scores.
Getting fired up here.
Game Day Highlights catches you up on Sunday's biggest plays with extensive recaps.
What a crazy finish it was.
And Deion Sanders wraps it all up in style on Game Day Prime.
If you ball, you get the call.
NFL Game Day, Sunday at 9 a.m. Eastern, only on NFL Network, and listen on TuneIn.
We can't make the lunch queue move faster. We can't make your phone charge any quicker. And sorry, we can't speed up the traffic in Sutton Coldfield. But we can speed up the way you submit an energy meter reading. The British Gas app lets you book an engineer, as well as claim rewards and manage your accounts all within minutes. so you can spend less time running your home and more time enjoying it. Download the British Gas app today.
This one shouldn't take long. Of course, if it had a cover, I might not be bothered. Can't see what's under there. And then they'd have chained the back wheel. It would have taken me much longer, especially if the chain's off the ground. Makes it harder to cut. This one doesn't even have a lock on the front. So, in the time I've been talking to you, I've nicked it.
Over 9,000 scooters and motorbikes were stolen in London last year. Lock your bike, chain the rear wheel, and cover it to make it harder to steal. Lock, chain, cover. The Met Police.
For people who want to feel happier, stronger, fitter, get further, faster, better. For people who want to, but don't always manage to. It doesn't matter how you want to do it, who you want to do it with. It matters that you want to. Virgin Active. We'll find a way for you. Join in September and get 15% off each month on 12-month memberships. Visit virginactive.co.uk. Participating gyms. Terms and conditions apply.
At Jet2 Holidays, we like keeping things simple. If you do too, our great value all-inclusive holidays are simply perfect. Meals, drinks and snacks are all included in the price. So book now with just a £60 deposit. Jet2 Holidays. Package holidays you can trust. Subject to availability and conditions.
No. No. No.
What are you doing?
I don't like any of our preset radio stations. We need a new car.
With the Jaguar E-Pace at $299 a month on personal contract hire, you'll find a reason.
That's better. And it's a Jaguar.
Initial rental £3,588. 48-month term. Subject to status. 8,000 miles per annum. Excess mileage and return conditions apply. No ownership option. Ends 30th of September. Participating retailers only. Jaguar contract hire.
It has been a week since Apple unveiled its new iPhones, and CNBC's tech products editor, Todd Hazelton, is joining us. He's been test driving the new models, and I'm holding one of them. You're holding the other two.
You got the
I got the big one because I was just trying to test this against the thing I have currently.
10. Yep.
So what do we think?
So very nice phones, worth the upgrade for most people. I'm saying all the way back to 6. I feel like everybody I talk to has a 6 or 6S. All the way up to 8. If you have an iPhone 10, I'm not sure you want to upgrade yet, unless you do Apple's early upgrade program. But the focus here was on two things that consumers care about.
Right.
Battery life and cameras. And Apple did a great job on both of those. I think you now have the best cameras in a smartphone, which wasn't necessarily true leading up until
People thought the Google Pixel was better.
The Google Pixel was the winner.
And you think this is now officially better, just
yes,
so we're clear.
Because you have night mode now, which allows you to brighten up the scenes when you take a picture like outside of a restaurant. I have some sample photos if we want to pull those up.
Yep.
And then the wide angle lenses. So you have super wide, which just captures everything. You have regular wide angle, which is a regular picture. And then you have the 2x zoom, which zooms in. Now the iPhone 11 has everything that you have in the iPhone 11 Pro Max and 11 Pro.
Right.
But just a little different screen. It's not as bright and colorful, and it also doesn't have the zoom lens.
But that's
otherwise,
the thing you
this
tell
is
most
the
people to
one
get.
I think most people need to buy, and that's because it's $699.
Price point's much lower.
Everybody's been complaining about iPhones costing too much. Here's Apple, and it's dropping at $50 from last year's iPhone XR, despite tariffs, which I think is a good strategy to get people to finally move in. And of course, these are becoming service devices, right? Like portals to serve up Apple stuff. So you have Apple Arcade launching this week. Apple TV Plus is coming in November. You already have Apple News. Nice. You can pay for all of that.
Okay, so here's the thing that I can't figure out.
Nice. Sure.
And I hate to say this. The camera, I will agree, more innovation, right? Mm-hmm. And the iOS 13, which I can get on can get on my current phone. Is there something coming? Are we getting to a point where actually we've maxed out on how much innovation there can actually be in the phone? You can keep making the camera better. Maybe you can make the screen marginally brighter, clearer, whatever.
That's a good question, Andrew. So you saw that with Samsung and the Galaxy Fold, which didn't work. And so I think, yes, down the line, a couple years from now, we're going to see maybe new device designs that are actually going to get people to say, wow, I need that phone again, as opposed to sort of longer battery life, more cameras that are a bit better. Things people care about now, but aren't really jaw-dropping. So,
well, next year we're going to get 5G.
Right. And so for people who want to buy these phones and then also get next year's phone, Apple has an early upgrade program. That's what I use. You could buy the phone this year, and then when the new one comes out, you send this one in, and you get the new one. So if you're worried about that,
camera than what we see on video.
Yeah, it's pretty fantastic. And actually, Apple's using working with developers so that they can film with multiple cameras on the back, so they can shoot
Honestly, I
wide
think it's better
angle,
than what you see on these.
regular, and zoomed in all from one in video, which is pretty impressive. I mean, it's crazy what that can do.
So, okay, but of the three, you're still going with the cheapest one because you think the marginal difference between...
I personally am going with the large one, the Big Max, because I like, and I could tell the difference in the screen.
Okay, the other thing, for those road warriors out there and business folk who basically don't get near a wire all day, how many hours can I really go with this thing?
So they say 5 extra, but the other day after the event...
over what? Five more than what?
Last year's model, the iPhone XS.
So hold on, so this XS...
Yeah.
Which, by the way...
XS Max, yep.
I can get through most of the day, but not all of the day.
Right. I've been getting through the day. Last night it was at 50%. But the other day when I was on with you guys after the event at like 2:45 in the morning, I woke up, drove up to San Francisco. Then I flew home, and it was still charged when I went to bed at midnight. So it was pretty impressive.
And did you use it the whole time?
Mode on the airplane. But it was on airplane mode, so it didn't have cellular connection and stuff. But it's impressive battery life.
So 5 extra hours. So what do they say? It should go all day? For real?
Yeah, it's been all day for me, all 3 of them.
And if you actually use it, and now do you think the battery just dropped? That's the other thing. I find that after like 6 months of using these devices,
the battery does drop off sometimes. So Apple has done the battery replacement program both to its benefit and against it, because people then change their batteries for free or for $29, and then they can keep the phone again for longer, and they're not upgrading. So if that does happen, you can always just go get the battery.
I really need to. I was
then you're
going
not
to
spending
call Apple
$1,000
today because I'm at 85% now.
Joe, what phone is that? It's time to upgrade.
Yeah, you need to upgrade, my friend.
It's like a 6, I think.
I shouldn't make it a 6. I've got an old
A lot of people I talk to are having the 6 or 6S,
Andy.
so get the 11.
Andy Richter. Andy,
by the way, your door is locked, apparently, according to a
my whole
message.
house is connected.
Andy, is that a 6?
Fully connected.
Should I get a battery or should I?
No, you want to upgrade.
He needs a new phone.
I do.
You do,
Jeff.
It seems fine, but it's 85% battery.
That's Apple's problem, right?
I was going to go.
Phones are still good.
Yeah, I mean, I don't.
And so people are like, I don't know. I don't need to upgrade.
Is everything going to be a bigger screen? Do they have anything that size?
Yeah, you can get close to this size with the iPhone 11 Pro. So
I got to tell you,
this is 4.7.
I'm looking at these pictures that you took, Becky, quick.
It's kind of amazing.
You know, it's like we have a little Annie Leibovitz in the room here.
I'm not sure if we pulled them up. Did we have some of the samples I had?
I'm not joking when I say the video quality looks better to me than the video quality on these incredibly expensive cameras that we have.
I think I'm probably eligible for an upgrade, company upgrade.
No, good luck on that.
Todd, thank you.
Thank you
for coming in this morning. Todd, we should say he's going to be back here tomorrow, and he's going to bring us a review of the Apple Watch. Can you see my Apple Watch? Anyway, you can see more of Todd's reviews on CNBC.com in just a bit.
Yes.
When we come back,
I need new
the content wars. Netflix just captured one of the biggest pieces on the board, landing the streaming rights to Seinfeld. We have the details right after this. Right now, though, as we head to a break, take a quick look at yesterday's S&P 500 winners and losers.
AT&T network.
I can find and fund my car, from a Mini to a Jaguar.
Feel good car buying from findandfundmycar.com is the place where you can find quality used cars from trusted dealers rated by you, and where you can fund your car with finance to fit your budget. It's feel good car buying all in one place.
Carry on, choose findandfundmycar.com.
Kevin commutes to London by coach from Kent with Clark's Coaches. He saves over £1,000 a year compared to the train, relaxes in a guaranteed seat, and gets to travel when he wants with flexible ticketing options. Be more like Kevin and start your journey to a cheaper and hassle-free commute with Clark's Coaches. Start your 5-day free trial today with code 5days by visiting clarkscoaches.co.uk/5 days. Every great journey starts here.
We can't make the lunch queue move faster. We can't make your phone charge any quicker. And sorry, we can't speed up the traffic in Sutton Coldfield. But we can speed up the way you submit an energy meter reading. The British Gas app lets you book an engineer, as well as claim rewards and manage your accounts all within minutes. So you can spend less time running your home and more time enjoying it. Download the British Gas app today.
This one shouldn't take long. Of course, if it had a cover, I might not be bothered. Can't see what's under there. And then they'd have chained the back wheel. It would have taken me much longer, especially if the chain's off the ground. Makes it harder to cut. This one doesn't even have a lock on the front. So, in the time I've been talking to you, I've nicked it.
Over 9,000 scooters and motorbikes were stolen in London last year. Lock your bike, chain the rear wheel, and cover it to make it harder to steal. Lock, chain, cover. The Met Police.
For people who want to feel happier, stronger, fitter, get further, faster, better. For people who want to, but don't always manage to. It doesn't matter how you want to do it, who you want to do it with. It matters that you want to. Virgin Active. We'll find a way for you. Join in September and get 15% off each month on 12-month memberships. Visit virginactive.co.uk. Participating gyms. Terms and conditions apply.
You know I'm here for the party, and I ain't leaving till they throw me out.
Welcome back. You're watching Squawk Box, live from the NASDAQ market site in Times Square.
Good morning. U.S. equity futures indicated down a little bit this morning, indicated down about 42 points on the Dow. The S&P giving back 3. And the NASDAQ indicated down about 12. Yesterday, I thought we decided with Santoli that we had already broken the streak.
We had not. Friday was up. It was 8 sessions in a row.
That was, yes. Okay. Anyway, we broke it yesterday. We had 8 in a row, and we're weaker today, but all manageable so far. And Seinfeld is heading to Netflix, talking about Seinfeld, the TV show. The video service acquired the global streaming rights to the sitcom. Newman. And will offer all 180 episodes of Seinfeld starting in 2021. It's the latest escalation in the content wars after Netflix lost the rights to stream Friends and The Office. Netflix didn't report exactly how much Netflix paid for Seinfeld, but a source tells CNBC that the price far exceeds the $500 million that NBC Universal paid.
There's a
for
big
The
question
Office.
about this because Seinfeld apparently did not do nearly as well on Hulu. It apparently accounted for only 1% of viewing, unlike Friends, which of course accounted for so much of the viewing on Netflix.
But is that the platform differentiation,
and that's the question.
or is it the program?
So there's a big question mark about both the audience and the platform itself in terms of both finding shows and how people watch and who's watching and why.
Right.
So we'll see whether it works out.
By the way, the S&P was down on Friday,
so
which could have led to the confusion on it. Yes, but the Dow was up on Friday. When we come back, the future of work. We're going to talk about some big changes to the labor market with the CEO of Manpower Group. And coming up at 7 a.m., our guest host for the hour, Aria Borkoff, will talk about the biggest headlines in the media and the ongoing content wars. Stay tuned. You are watching Squawk Box right here on CNBC.
Delivering Alpha, the most important investor summit 9 years running. Strategy from leading alpha generators. Direct access to policymakers and government leaders. On September 19th, see who's calling the shots now. Go to deliveringalpha.com to attend this year's blockbuster event.
You will come away with ideas that you can put to work immediately.
Plus, special guest Vice President Mike Pence talks economy and trade war impact. Reserve your spot now at deliveringalpha.com.
From the start.
I can find and fund my car, from a Mini to a Jaguar.
Feel good car buying from findandfundmycar.com is the place where you can find quality used cars from trusted dealers rated by you, and where you can fund your car with finance to fit your budget. It's feel good car buying all in one place.
Carry on, choose findandfundmycar.com.
We can't make the lunch queue move faster. We can't make your phone charge any quicker. And sorry, we can't speed up the traffic in Sutton Coldfield. But we can speed up the way you submit an energy meter reading. The British Gas app lets you book an engineer, as well as claim rewards and manage your accounts all within minutes. So you can spend less time running your home and more time enjoying it. Download the British Gas app today.
This one shouldn't take long. Of course, if it had a cover, I might not be bothered. Can't see what's under there. and then they'd have chained the back wheel. It would have taken me much longer, especially if the chain's off the ground. Makes it harder to cut. This one doesn't even have a lock on the front. So, in the time I've been talking to you, I've nicked it.
Over 9,000 scooters and motorbikes were stolen in London last year. Lock your bike, chain the rear wheel, and cover it to make it harder to steal. Lock, chain, cover. The Met Police.
For people who want to feel happier, stronger, fitter, get further, faster, better. For people who want to, but don't always manage to. It doesn't matter how you want to do it, who you want to do it with. It matters that you want to. Virgin Active. We'll find a way for you. Join in September and get 15% off each month on 12-month memberships. Visit virginactive.co.uk. Participating gyms. Terms and conditions apply.
You're in charge of hiring, and Indeed has solutions, like online skills tests, which let a candidate show that they are the right hire. And we give you this toy monkey, who will bang its symbols when the right CV appears on your desktop. Okay, there is no monkey. There is no monkey. But there are online skills tests.
See why more than 250,000 companies in the UK use Indeed for hiring. Visit Indeed.com/try today to try skills tests for free today. Terms and conditions apply.
At the Bank of Antandek, mortgages are on the menu.
I was in the chippy last night and it hit me.
Go on.
We should give all our new mortgage customers £1,000 of spuds.
Potatoes?
Yeah, jackets, roasties, dolphin wires. I mean, what's not to love?
Hey, yeah, we could call it
Mashback. Genius.
Meanwhile, at Santander, they're giving their customers £1,000 cash back on selected first-time buyer mortgages. See what's possible at Santander.
Lending subject to status and criteria. Cashback given on completion and repayable if mortgage closed within 2 years. Offer can be withdrawn. Your home may be repossessed if you do not keep up repayments on your mortgage.
Welcome back to Squawk Box, everybody. The Auto Workers Union has restarted talks with General Motors as they enter strike day 2 of the strike. Phil LeBeau joins us right now with more on this. Phil, should we think that there is any movement on this front, or is this just, okay, we're back to talking, but maybe...
Well, they started talking again yesterday, Becky, at 10 in the morning, and I've been told that the talks, they went on pretty regularly throughout the day yesterday. I wouldn't read much into that in terms of they're closer to making a deal or they've made progress. You know how this goes. This is slow process, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. And I think when you look at what's going on with the UAW talks, is it possible that we could see some type of resolution in the next couple of days? Sure, it's possible. But almost everybody that I've talked with has said, don't be surprised if this extends further out. The key issues, job guarantees, temporary workers, how many General Motors has within the workforce there, and health care benefits that are being paid by the UAW members. In terms of the supply of vehicles in showrooms, you don't have to worry about General Motors running low anytime soon. Most importantly, the most profitable vehicle in the lineup, the one that they really, it's the bread and butter. You're talking about the Chevy Silverado pickup. They've got 94-day supply. They're not running short of that anytime soon. But just for some context, 60 or 61 days, 62 days, that would be considered the optimal day supply that you would have for any vehicle if you're an automaker. So they've got more than enough in that regard. Moody's out with a note yesterday saying GM's ability to contend with a short duration strike, meaning no more than 1 or 2 weeks, is comfortably supported by its 77 days of U.S. inventory. They also have $17.5 billion in automotive cash, $16.5 billion available under its credit facility. And that's why when you take a look at shares of General Motors, yes, it was down more than 4% yesterday, guys. And that, I think, is to be expected. Do we see this stock moving dramatically lower? Almost everybody that I've talked with on Wall Street has said, no, this would really have to be an extensive strike. It would have to stretch out several weeks before you would start to see a huge pullback in shares of GM.
All right, Phil, thank you. Now, for a broader look at the changing face of the labor market, let's welcome Jonas Prising, Manpower Group, Chairman and CEO. Thanks for joining us. Obviously, unions aren't normally what you talk about, Jonas. And in fact, unions, I guess union membership has been on the decline.